Yeah, there's your church. They're celebrating Christmas, but they got no time for the greatest sign ever given to the church since Pentecost. It's unbelievable. Well, there's the pastor. There's the pastor. Well, what is it, pastor? What is your prayer? Oh, Lord, send us a sign. Yeah, with the Revelation 12 sign looming over him, he's asking for a sign. That sounds about right. Wait a second. Speaking of signs, is that a little sign? What's that? What's on that sign? Oh, of course. First Church of Sardis. You better believe it. It's unbelievable. It is absolutely unbelievable. And it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I don't care which comment section you go to, you're going to see a really high representation of Sardis in the comments, looking for anything but what the Lord told us to watch for. Oh, somebody said something about the first day of Hanukkah. There's going to be an important day. Could be the rapture. I think it's a high watch day. And then there's like tittering back and forth over, oh, that's so exciting. Sardis. He is not showing up for the church until all of his signs have been fulfilled. I know you blow him off, which is something you should never have done. And some of you didn't even put up a fight. What does he tell you in the Olivet Discourse? Be on guard. It's the same thing he said earlier about if they tell you I'm in the desert or in the inner room, don't go, I'll be up there. He's saying, be on guard. Someone's going to try and steal this from you. I have told you all things beforehand. And what did you do? You believed it when you first read it. And then somebody came along. Hi, I'm a prophecy teacher. I am also a graduate of a seminary. That right there, the Olivet Discourse, is not for you. And you said, oh, here, take it. How did I know? Thanks for letting me know. Be on guard. No, get your hand off that. Care who you are. Don't care what you think. What you're telling me, it contradicts what he's telling me. I'm going with him. That's what should have happened. Here's what really should have happened. For centuries, the church should have looked at those signs and treasured them like priceless family heirlooms, each generation watching. He gave us signs. These are gifts from him. He wants those who care to know when his coming, when we're in the time of his coming. These signs are unbelievably important. And each generation, as it got older, made sure the younger generation knew, now soon it'll be your turn to watch, be watchmen and watchwomen for these signs. And when you get our age, make sure the younger generation knows it's their responsibility. Look for these signs that are important to him. They let us know when he's about to make his appearance. And so when the Revelation 12 sign came, it wouldn't have been such a hard sell to the church who turned their backs on it. Unbelievable, a sign that he gave us. And the church turns its back on him. Here's the expression of the church face when you bring up the Revelation 12 sign. I'll have more on the Revelation 12 sign here in just a few minutes, but these are the things we should be talking about, these signs. And I want to talk about that because one of the viewers a few months ago mentioned that they felt like the second sign, distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, was also fulfilled on the day of the Revelation 12 sign because there were hurricanes in the Atlantic and Pacific, and especially Maria and Jose, Mary and Joseph in English, side by side in Atlantic. Yeah, I think that was important. I tried to see it as a fulfillment this week. I said, okay, I'm going to really give that idea some thought. But my problem with it is this, with perplexity. There is no doubt in some places the sea and the waves were roaring because it was hurricane season. In the Atlantic in 2017, it was an active season. It was one right after another, but nothing extraordinary. In the Pacific, it was kind of just a normal season. In the Indian Ocean, on the other side of the world, cyclones and tropical depressions, it was like one of the lowest ever, almost none, almost no storms whatsoever. And when you look at hurricane seasons, I went online, Googled the most active hurricane seasons. 2017 doesn't make the list. So even though there were some hurricanes, the world was not saying, what's going on? What's happening here? No, it was just a moderate to active hurricane season, depending on where you were in the world. And the distress of nations, yes, anybody that had a hurricane coming at them is going to be distressed, but it was such a small portion of the entire population of the earth. I just don't think that rises to fulfillment level of what this is going to be. I think it's going to be just like the Revelation 12 sign, where if you really are watching, you're going to know for sure that has just been fulfilled. Before I get more into that, a side unexpected benefit of this 2.5 year, I'm not going to say journey because I don't like it. I just don't like it when pastors say, on your journey, it may be different than my journey. What are we on, a sightseeing tour? My journey. I hope I find a pastor standing in Walmart in line with me someday, and I look over at him and go, how's your journey going? Huh? How's your journey going? All it looks to me like is you've got a bunch of stuff in your arms that you're paying 20% more for this year than last year. Enjoy your journey. I don't like journey, so I'll go with path, the 2.5 year path that we've been on, or the 2.5 years worth of stuff. I'll go with the King James Version. Yeah, the stuff he's shown us over the past 2.5 years. An unexpected benefit of that is the ESV. I began the 2.5 years of stuff being a new King James Version reader, and I still like it. And I'm not putting it down. I just don't think it is as good as the ESV, because the one thing I've noticed, and I'm not telling you what Bible, there are many other good Bibles. I'm just doing like what people do when they say, hey, you know that fairly new restaurant over by the park? It's really good. They're not saying you need to make that your favorite restaurant or it's the best restaurant in town. You're just saying, hey, it's really good. And that's what I'm saying to you. By the way, the ESV, it's really good. Because I've noticed how throughout this process, how dedicated they are to the Greek text, and they use a very good Greek text, highly regarded by scholars. And the translation committee, top notch. They really, really are honed in on bringing us what the Greek says to us in English. Great translators. That's why when I, for the first time, understood what the Holy Spirit was talking about when he said the stars falling from earth are like the winter figs falling to the ground. Here's how the New King James Version states that same verse. And the stars of heaven fell to earth as a fig tree drops its late figs when it is shaken by a mighty wind. Well, what is it? Okay, that didn't tell me anything. That just, okay, so the stars fall to the earth like figs dropping from a fig tree when they're ready to... No, it's saying that specific word. Once again, I knew the ESV, when I saw it finally in the ESV, it was talking about the winter figs. And then I looked into, well, what's the deal with winter figs? And I learned something that everybody in the Middle East would have known back then. It's a rotten crop. It never ripens. It just comes in at winter and flops to the ground in spring, and no one eats it. It's worthless. What an insight that was in understanding that those stars that fall to earth are Satan and his angels, because war in heaven has just taken place. It's amazing. So I saw something again a couple of months ago that the ESV does differently than the New King James Version. And other Bibles, by the way, follow suit with the ESV on this. So they're not the only ones, but it's an important difference. I knew it was a difference. I just wasn't sure what it was until this past week. And then I think I understand what's going on. Here's what I'm talking about. There will be signs. Here's the New King James Version. In the sun and the moon and the stars, okay? Here's another version, the NIV. And there will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. Okay, one the. In the New King James Version, three thes. Now, the Greek does have a definite article, the. You see it throughout the Greek text, if you know what to look for. I don't read fluently, but I know what that word looks like, and I can see it when it's there. 3 times the King James Version uses the. The NIV uses it 1 time. But the fact of the matter is, here's how it should read, the English Standard Version. There will be signs in sun, moon, and stars. No the, because there is no the there, which is interesting. And by the way, there's no the there in this verse, whether you're looking at the Textus Receptus, which King James and New King James Version and many others use, or the highly regarded critical text. There is no the in that verse, except when it gets to earth, but not the sun, not the moon, and not the stars. And stars, by the way, could also be translated constellations, but we'll leave it at stars. This is interesting because just prior to this, at the Olivet Discourse, he talks about the sun turning black as a sackcloth of hair and the moon turning to blood. So what is the point here? I think what he's saying here is the sign that will happen up there will involve sun, moon, and stars. If he had put the before sun, we might think it as, well, there will be signs in the sun, and there'll be a sign or two in the moon, and there'll be a sign or two in the stars. I don't believe that's the case. I believe what he's saying is there will be one sign up there containing sun, moon, and stars, so that we would know when we saw it. And then the next sign is on the earth, distress of nations. Because if we were looking at it like, well, there'll be a sign in the moon. Oh, look, there's an interesting lunar eclipse. Is that the sign? I don't know. Maybe. Well, there's this interesting solar eclipse. Could that be what he's talking about? Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Fell on a feast day, maybe. Well, what about the stars? We got to have a sign in the stars. Well, here's an interesting conjunction that's kind of rare. Is that it? Maybe. There's no maybe with the Revelation 12 sign. It was a sign containing sun, moon, and stars, and it came right off the pages of Revelation 12. On top of that, it fulfills the first sign that he gives at the Olivet Discourse. There will be signs in sun, moon, and stars. There it is. And it's depicting what we read in Revelation 12. And here's the killer. In Revelation 12, it's pointing to war in heaven. At the Olivet Discourse, it's pointing to war in heaven. It's unbelievable. That is not a coincidence. He wants us to know what was going on. Practically all of us missed it and didn't see what it signified, didn't understand. I never thought it was about the rapture, but I didn't know what it signified. And I kind of blew it off after it happened. Shame on me. Shame on all of us. We should have stuck with it and said, okay, it wasn't the rapture. What does it mean? Well, what's it signifying in the 12th chapter of the book of Revelation? Well, it leads to war in heaven. Okay. And someone should have said, look, it's a fulfillment of the first sign of the Olivet Discourse. There will be signs. One up there containing sun, moon, and stars. And then another one on earth. And then a final one among the people, panicking as they see what is coming on the earth. We should have gotten excited. The church should have gotten excited. We blew it. I blew it. I didn't understand it until about a year ago. I started beginning to understand the power and what it stood for and how important this is. People, the church have been waiting for. The sign arrived on our watch. The church turns its back. It's incredible and it's dangerous. It's amazing. It's amazing. And I think of Scott Clark. What a great presenter of it he was. And I often think, because no one was talking about it, but suddenly we had the software to see it ahead of time. And he had the foresight to look at that sign in the 12th chapter of Revelation and go, it's a woman clothed with the sun. Well, the sun moves along the ecliptic each year, passing through what we call the zodiac. That's not astrology, that's astronomy. The children of Israel had something very similar. They called it the Mazzaroth. As a matter of fact, Josephus, in one of his books, talks about, he was a priest in the temple, that the 12 loaves of showbread represent the 12 signs of the Mazzaroth. Mazzaroth means constellations. They are the constellations that the sun travels through. And yes, they have a virgin as well. So Scott Clark said, well, there's only one female represented in the zodiac or the Mazzaroth, and it's Virgo, the virgin. And it's clothed with the sun every September. So I should take this newfangled technology and see if I can find something, a September coming, that reflects what John saw in Revelation 12. It was a brilliant idea that he had. And so he started looking. And eventually he would have come to 2017. Maybe he was looking at September 1st each year. Just let's go down the line and see if we see anything special. 2017, September 1st, he could have called that up on the software. And he would have suddenly kind of inched forward on his chair when he saw, look, there's a planet in her womb. How'd that get there? How'd that get there? Now, that's a long way from Revelation 12, but it's a good start. And he could have backtracked. Well, when did it enter her womb? And he would have found out it entered it late November the year before. It has been in her womb for 9 solid months. Remember, it's a difficult birth. Revelation 12 is telling us it's a difficult birth. But there were still a lot of things that had to happen. Mars and Mercury were beginning to join the 9 stars of Leo, making it 11. Still needed another star. Still need the moon at her feet, and the planet has to be birthed correctly. What if it goes out the side? What if it doesn't get birthed? What if it goes toward her head? But over the next ensuing few days, everything fell in place. Venus comes down and joins Mercury and Mars as the 12th star. Of course, the morning star would be a witness to this sign. And the planet begins being birthed properly. And on September 23rd at roughly 10:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time, the moon flew down to be at her feet, and the sign was complete, signifying to us that something incredible had just taken place. We all knew it was related to the Revelation 12 sign. I don't know why everybody thought it was the rapture, but we didn't know anything past that. Why was there nobody telling us it's also a fulfillment of the first sign of the Olivet Discourse? There will be signs in sun, moon, and stars, and there it is. But the church had turned its back on the Olivet Discourse a long time ago, and it wasn't listening. That's Sardis for you. And Sardis is in trouble, big trouble. This time period that we're given between the Revelation 12 sign and what it's about to happen is the period that he's giving us to correct these mistakes. I'm correcting my mistake. I didn't understand the importance of the Revelation 12 sign. You can go back 2.5 years, and when it does come up, I go, I think it's authentic. I lean toward that. I'm not sure, because I had no idea the power of what it was saying, that it's pointing to war in heaven, both in chapter 12 of Revelation and the Olivet Discourse in the Gospels. That's not a coincidence. That's meaningful and powerful. That's what's coming. And that is immediately followed by, I will send my angels out to gather the elect. I've mentioned Pastor Carl Gallup's rapture dream. I don't know much about Pastor Carl Gallup's. I've heard him interviewed a couple of times. I'm always impressed with him. Comes out of a law enforcement background, very sharp, very intelligent man. And he had this dream. And because of the circumstances of the 2 other people who also had it, unbeknownst to him at the time, you can see the fingerprints of God on that dream. But there was one thing in that dream that I never understood until last week. They all 3 who had that dream say the same thing. Dream opens. I'm standing in a field, they say, at night, looking at the stars. Behind me is a city. but I don't know what city it is because I'm not allowed to turn around. They all know that instinctively. I can't turn around. And then the stars begin moving in a very chaotic fashion. There's panic in the city, and then they fall to earth. And we're told in the dream that they are angels that are actually being thrown to earth. Why couldn't they turn around? Now I know, because of Luke 17. This was the Holy Spirit embedding the remember Lot's wife moment in that dream. Don't turn around. There's nothing for you back there. You look that way. This is exactly what the Lord tells us when we see that final sign, which is fear, foreboding, people fainting or maybe worse, possibly having heart attacks. That Greek word can mean anywhere from fainting to heart attacks. At that moment, that sign, you're not going to have time. All you're going to have time to do at that point is decide, do I run back into the house? Do I turn back to the city? Do I protect my possessions? Or I do what he said to do? Straighten up. Straighten up and raise your heads because your redemption draws near. By doing that, you express to him, I heard you, Lord, and I am doing what you ordered me to do. You can move from Sardis to Philadelphia this very hour. God bless you all.